from our Awakened Radio Network sponsors. Please support them by visiting their website and letting them know you heard about them on the Awakened Radio Network. Do you want to see the tragic condition of spinal cord paralysis end? If yes, then go to vibrationmed.com and see the revolutionary surgical proposal to regrow and repair damaged spinal cords, making people whole again. Then contact your favorite foundation who says that they are looking for a cure. Inform them of vibrationmed.com. Awakened Radio Network is also brought to you by evolutionaryspiritualitycoaching.com. If you're ready, really ready for the lifestyle of success to heal and grow and transition your life into the experiences you really want to have, visit Evolutionary Spirituality Coaching today. EvolutionarySpiritualityCoaching.com allows you to heal and grow your life in amazing ways. Awakened Radio Network is also brought to you by Donna Devane on Amazon. Check out Donna Devane on Amazon and look for all of her latest books, and be sure to notice when she's offering a Kindle book as a free download. Download, share, read, and remember, leave your feedback. Donna always enjoys hearing from her readers. Visit Donna Devane, DEVANE, on Amazon.com, where you are given the tools and information for self-empowerment so that you can heal and transform your own life. Donna Devane on Amazon.com.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Conversations. I'm Rob Ragozzine. Thank you for joining us. It's 9 p.m. Sunday, October 6th. Please join us in the chat room if you'd like to by coming to awakenedradio.net and clicking the live chat tab, or add Awakened Radio to Skype, or of course you can dial 334-649-7204 to connect with us, ask questions, make comments. And in the second half hour of the show, you can call in or connect with us and ask questions of our guests. Today it's Roger Banyots. So come gather with us in our conversation as we open the door for Roger. He's intuitive. He's worked in media. He's helped horses. He's been a horse trainer for many years, and he's really had a well-rounded education, and he's tracked his intuitiveness for well over 30 years. He says, make one small change, and then when you're ready, you can make another and another. If you're inspired by tonight's talk, contact me on Facebook or Twitter and participate on a call of your own. We'd love to hear about how you have healed your own life, and please do join us tonight. Now, Roger, I know it takes a lot of courage to come on the radio, and I would like to thank you for that. How are you tonight?
Oh, no problem at all, Rob. I'm glad to be here. No courage at all. Once you start to go down a certain path, that you kind of just put one step in front of the other. But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's great to have you on. Let's talk about some of the work that you've done. I know we were talking about the group that you helped to co-found near you, the POMC. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, let's start a little bit before that group to where I got there. At the time that POMC stands for Parents of Murdered Children and Other Survivors of Homicide Victims, and this is the Trumbull County chapter. But how I got there, my dad just passed away. I was in my early 20s, or later 20s. My brother was in his early 20s. My Aunt Pat, my godmother, had a stroke, and we took her into our house, and I just started college, and my brother was just finishing high school, and my brother didn't even know how to drive. And so we were taking care of an invalid in our house, so we added on to our house. Well, then I'll speed up the story a little bit. My father then passed away unexpectedly in his early 50s. I was going to college, working 3 jobs at a time, and my brother, who didn't have a license, got his license and got a job out of nowhere, and that was like one of the coincidences I was just so proud and happy that, okay, thank God at this time. So here we are taking care of my mom's sister. My mom's, is living with us, and my father passed away. So here, I'm going to college. This is, lost my dad. Really, this when I was going to use him and talk to him and ask him all kind of questions. We had a really great relationship. My dad was an upholsterer, but he was really smart. He was one of the smartest men I've known, and he was great with kids. He was there wasn't sort of sports per se right in our neighborhood. There was sports in our community, but he was, we'd go out and play baseball, we'd go out and play football, and my dad was the guy who orchestrated that. And I have a nice park right to my left here, and everyone would look at him, they call him Uncle Joe, whether he was your uncle or not. So that was a devastating blow. But literally a few years after that, my dad died, my brother became entangled in something that he was trying to help a friend, a girlfriend, not his girlfriend, and the next thing you know, he got shot and was murdered. And so here I am. We have had an invalid person living in our house, but she previously just I'm a little bit mixed up in my timeline. She died, and then my brother was murdered. So it was a traumatic experience after traumatic experience after traumatic experience, and that just left me and my mom. And that was literally to say I didn't know which end was up. I didn't know reality. I was just messed up. I was not a drinker. I was not one to use drugs. In fact, I didn't even want some of the pills that the doctor gave me to kind of sedate me, I guess is the proper word. But we were really lost. What really made this even more complex is that we never found my brother's body. We really didn't have a motive. We didn't find a gun. And I just started to work in radio. Thank God I had a couple friends who pushed me to go intern and work for free. And working for free got me into a radio station. My cousin was also working for a TV station. So like I had a little bit of notoriety, and I'm not going to say pull, but I had the spotlight. I had the light shining on us because my cousin would make noise or I would make noise. But what happened then is that my brother's murder was in the spotlight because the prosecutor in Youngstown was not going to prosecute it, and he said, "Look, you got no body, you got no gun, we have these criminals lying against lying. How can you tell which lie is the truth?" And he was just going to let it go, and he was up for election. Well, my cousin and I, Debbie Bibelo, we pressed on, and we actually tried to get the change of venue to where the murder was committed, and it was down on near Allegheny, near on the other side of Pittsburgh. So, by talking to an assistant prosecutor, we got them. He decided to take the case, and that's when the story kept going and kept building. So we ended up getting this prosecutor who believed in it. We actually had no body. And do you want me to go explain on what happened with the body? To proceed like I was telling you the other day, where my brother was murdered, it was near railroad tracks, and the river was maybe 40 yards away. Well, at that time in November, what the weather forecasters would call a 100-year storm. It happens every 100 years. That there was so much massive rainfall. Probably what just happened out in Colorado, if you remember a couple weeks ago, how it just rained and rained and rained, and in the deluge that wrecked parts of Colorado, near Grand Junction and whatnot. Well, that happened down in the Pittsburgh area. It rained and rained, not to that extent of Colorado, but to the extent where when I went down looking for my brother's body, when we had our friends put together search parties and whatnot, and going out officially with the police, down where the body was supposedly, where my brother was shot, you can look up into the trees and above the telephone poles, and literally 50 feet up, you can see all the debris line. And that's where the river flooded its banks and went that high. Well, what the Army Corps of Engineers later told me when I was testifying in a court of law down in Pittsburgh was that they used so much dynamite, and the rate of the rivers, where it's a confluence of the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and I believe the Ohio, where it all came together, that the barges were adrift and running dangerous through the rivers, and that they were getting jammed up, that they used a whole bunch of dynamite to free them. So he pulled me aside, and he goes, "Is your mother in the courtroom?" I said, "No." And he goes, "I can tell you." And I said, "Yeah." He said, basically, we used so much dynamite to get everything to be flowing again, that your brother's body is going to be plankton, and just, the explosions were killing fish. Well, if my brother's body was in there, it's being taken downstream at a high rate. He goes through standing just in a foot of water, you would have knocked over. But that basically it's going to be plankton in a little bit because of all the dynamite that we used. So we had no chance of finding his body. But what we did then find is a gun nearby in that area that was traced back to a local community, say maybe 15 miles from where we live. So we kind of had a gun. We kind of had a reason why we weren't going to find his body. And then the story took off. And to make this long story short, we actually, the gentleman, the assistant prosecutor in Pittsburgh got 2 convictions, and we got a murder conviction. So that in itself was an amazing feat. So at that same time, after all that winds down, then it's come back to real life. And you're out of it. You're feeling sick. The trauma of going through this has happened. The shock still not, hasn't completed. That now, there was just me and my brother, no other brothers or sisters, and I was the older brother to my brother Richard. And what adds a little bit of more kick to the story is, back when I was in 4th grade and Richard was in 1st grade, we went to a place, like I told you, I live near a park, and about 3 blocks to the south of me was a thing called Devil's Cliff and the Hippity Dip. And that was a sled riding and tobogganing thing that us kids made up. It was not something that your local community says, "Come here, enjoy and do it." This was a little bit dangerous. Well, my mom told us not to go there, so where does Roger and Richard go? We went down there, and Richard went straight ahead on this one thing, and I was supposed to catch him, and I missed him, and he landed right on a stump. And it ripped his kidney and spleen out. Well, he should have died from the 3 blocks. I took him from right there all the way to my house, and then get him to the to Northside Hospital. He miraculously, again, survived this. He actually heard. They actually had a news thing, that a radio plane. He actually heard them talking about him on the radio as he was going in to be operated on. And all he told me is when he comes out, he wants a TV because he was a diehard Browns fan. And that's exactly when they traded, for those who are a Browns fan, traded Paul Warfield to get the picks for Mike Phipps. So the fact that he wanted to see a TV so much, that's what the doctors were thinking, that, hey, that's why he survived that, because the doctor said he should have died before we got him to the operating table. So the reason why I bring this story up is I have the guilt trip. I'm the one who's supposed to always protect my brother. I was in 4th grade, he was in 1st grade, from now on. And I really, really, really had trouble dealing with that, even though I was, I think, 26 at the time. My brother was 23. And I'm the older brother. I'm supposed to take care of him no matter when. And so the fact that my only brother was murdered, having that as a past performance in my life, I was really struggling. And then out of the blue, I've got a phone call from a lady named Miriam Fife, and she is a walking saint. She really is, this lady, and another lady named Mary Lou Donahue. Now, I did not know these people from any other people that you can walk through a grocery store that you're not familiar with, and people pass you. Mary Lou Donahue, her son was murdered by one of his best friends on Thanksgiving night with a butcher's knife, and that was just a travesty in itself, and that was up in the Warren area, which is about 10 miles to my north. And then Miriam Fife lost her son walking through a park to get to his house by some crazed lunatic who basically wasn't all there, didn't have all his faculties, was tried in court as a person not having all his faculties, but brutally was tortured with a broomstick and lit on fire, and just horrible things done to her son. Well, Miriam calls me and describing the same 3 things that just were going on in our communities of Youngstown and Warren, Ohio. Said she's thinking of trying to start a self-help organization, and this thing was called Parents of Murdered Children. And Parents of Murdered Children was started in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1977 by the Hollingers. And the Hollingers lost their daughter. Forgive me if I don't have all their facts, and I used to know it back then, back in the early 80s, but they lost their daughter back in 1977, and they formed this organization basically to help deal with a violent death. And because there was this back in the 80s, this is when we were doing it back in 85, there really wasn't all these things where you can go for help. Like now, I mean, there's when you have AAA, there's Al-Anon and stuff, or if you have some type of disease, you can go there and you can all share in that fraternity. And by sharing and being a part of it, I could tell you, Rob, what I'm going through, but you can try to be an intuitive or an empath and try to walk in my shoes, but you can't. You can't. I mean, I can't feel what my mom felt because she lost her son. I only lost my brother. It's even different there. I can't tell you what it is, to lose someone through cancer, or which maybe I have now, or a friend, but there's something special, not special in the fact that it's special, but different in the fact of being a murderer, and then you have to go through a legal system that sometimes is not on your side. I fought with the prosecutor. I fought with the guy because he didn't want to pursue the evidence. Sometimes even the police sometimes might interfere. And then there's other times where everything's going well, but your family members are interfering. They're causing more problems. They're doing drugs. They're drinking because they're just trying to survive. So they formed this community called POMC, and this is what Mary Lou Donahue, Miriam Fife, and myself formed for the Parents of Murdered Children and other survivors of homicide victims for Trumbull County. And we end up serving Trumbull and Mahoning County and in most of the western PA that we can get to, in Sharon, Pennsylvania, and whatnot. And basically, we did this, like I said, there is no money coming to us. We would see the we would scour the papers, or since I was working in radio, my cousin in TV, and then we made more connections as we went on, that they would tell us, here, this person needs to be contacted. And after I get off work, or Miriam wasn't working but her husband, and then Mary Lou didn't drive, but one of her daughters, she had a bunch of a large family, 5 or 6 daughters, would take us to these families, and then we would start helping, and we formed this organization in this area. Mary Lou died a few years ago. Miriam has worked with the Trumbull County prosecutors for the last 10 years, so she got a job out of it, but it's really a job that's really tough, because it's not like you're going to go look to have a good day at work. You're always going to be dealing with trying to put someone's life back together. So that's kind of how we got to what we call POMC, or Parents of Murdered Children. And do you want me to continue?
Well, that's a lot of detail. I was really looking at how you perceived it from the intuitive, the empathic angle.
Well, okay, from a... could you be more specific on the intuitive or the empathic angle? I know I had a feeling...
Well, I know we talked about being cut off from a lot of your feelings at this time. So were you connected to them? Were you feeling...
Oh, no, I was always... I don't want to use the word psychic, but for the sake of argument, or for people, we'll use that word psychic as a jumping off point, where I always got these vibes. I always had these feelings. In fact, I was sitting... I could tell you exactly where I was. I was sitting in the middle of my living room floor. I was watching something. I was rocking back and forth, and I had a very, very, very bad, what I call a vibe, and I got very uncomfortable. And when I mean uncomfortable, when you get uncomfortable, the feeling of uncomfortable, I got the feeling of uncomfortable. But I had the feeling of uncomfortable, like someone swung, and it felt like a fuzzy nerve baseball bat going through my head, and it went right through my head, and I got rocked all the way back to the back floor. And I, at the time, because I was being taught by a teacher then, because you write all these vibes down when they come in, and you pay attention to them, and the only way you're going to know is you're going to see what you wrote down, see the feeling, and then go back and backtrack, and keep doing that, and then you'll have an idea of what these premonitions will. Well, obviously, this is one intuition that I never want to have again, but that was, I thought I was going to catch a cold at that time, something really bad was going to happen, and little as that, my brother got shot in the head, 3 times a week later. And on an intuitive thing, that's when that happened, and I thought, wow, something really bad was here. But I interpreted it something else. I would never have interpreted as a murder or death, and that's how I at that time, my intuitive feeling picked up on that. There's other things where you use your intuitive or your empathic energy, and because everything is energy, every vibration. If you stick your arms from open wide and go from your left tip of your finger to your right tip of your finger, that's the whole range of frequencies and vibrations that are available to you. And if you turn the quarter on its side, that's the amount of visual light that you see, and that's the spectrum, because there's radiation, there's all kind of other, there's radio vibrations, and there's all kind of other vibrations out there, but we use our 5 senses to see in a very, very, very narrow bandwidth. What being my intuitions and empathic things, how this helped, I felt that with my brother, like I didn't know what that was, but it was really bad. But then as I became more involved with Parents of Murdered Children, I could pick up on these other murders, or I can pick up on what people were feeling, and I can go there and help them heal by asking the right question. And it's not so much the answer, it's always asking, you want to ask the best question. And then you see that all of a sudden their eyes light up, like, you know what I'm talking about. You connected with me. Then all of a sudden, so now my words carry more weight. It's like, okay, you know where I've been. They're going to believe in you and they're going to listen to you, and then you have to be true to these vibrations. And I believe, on a spiritual level, you're not going to get these if you're going to do something wrong with them or misuse them. They're going to come to you, and I think the more truthful you are to the situation at hand, and you don't have to believe in any God, whatever, but the more truthful you are to the situation at hand, the more it works in favor of what the outcome is supposed to be. And we then built it as this survivor group, and we end up helping a lot of people. But the problem is you just get burned out because it's just negative thing after negative thing, and sometimes people don't follow advice and just want to go down a destructive pathway, no matter what, how good that you try to help them out.
Well, it really speaks to taking care of yourself as you're taking care of these families.
Well, and that's the thing. My mom goes, "Why do you want to start doing this?" And basically, not to say this tritefully, but you almost make one. You've got handed lemons, so you make lemonade. And then when you usually try to say you're going to go out and help someone else, you end up helping yourself. And that's what we did. In the same mode that we're going out there and helping, and we save people from suicide. We save people from going out and killing other people because they knew who did what to them, and they were going to not let the police do their jobs and let the judicial process do their due diligence, and they were going to just go out and there's movies made of this. You always see the irate father in an abuse case going out and killing the person doing it, or in a fit of rage the lovers. But yeah, I witnessed it. I was involved in it, and at the beginning I was involved in it on a daily basis, way too much, way too real, and it's not the pleasant way that TV and the movies and Hollywood make it. There's very few sweet endings. There's a lot of horror, and there's a lot of scrambling just to save the situation where it's at, and that was really eye-opening. But then at the same time, as you get them through certain points, you go, God, I did good, and then you say, well, what's your spiritual lesson? Well, Roger didn't pick. My brother said I was actually going in TV, and I lost a job in Youngstown, which my teacher was the broadcaster, was the anchor, and the sportscaster was again the main guy. And I was like, I had it. I lost it on the fluke of all flukes, and I don't even want to get into it right now, but because that'll be sidetracked. But then I had another chance for another job in Augusta, Georgia. I was going to go work with a friend of mine, one of my best friends, and he said, come on camera and become the weekend sports announcer. And I was going to go that. And Richard said to me, go become a star, and I'll stay home and get married and watch Mom. And that was the kind of deal that we made. And then when that didn't happen, all of a sudden, I'm doing what? What am I doing? And then so.
Well, we have about a minute till break, so we'll talk about this when we come back from the break. But meanwhile, can you give us your Facebook address so that people can find you?
My Facebook address is just Roger J. Banyots. I think that's the. I got it.
Well, just so people know where to find you.
Yeah, Roger. It's just Roger J. Banyots on Facebook, and let me find. I'll find my Twitter handle after because you could follow me. I punch out a lot on Twitter. But yeah, it's just Roger J. Banyots on Facebook.
Okay. And we'll talk more when we come back from break.
Because we're awakened.
And now word from the Awakened Radio sponsors. In 1993, the Einstein College of Medicine patented a blood electrification device to clean the blood of bacteria and virus problems. The device was just too cheap and effective and was not implemented into standard medical practice in hospitals. See where that patent has led to. Check out horsemagneticpulsar.com. That is pulsar, spelled with an ER, not AR. horsemagneticpulsar.com. Have you taken part in the prosperity game at the Awakened Radio Network? Visit our homepage, awakenedradio.net. Find out how you can win prizes just by exercising your money muscle. A $1 donation gets you in the drawing every month for prizes that will blow your mind. Check out the prosperity game here on the Awakened Radio Network, awakenedradio.net. Are you looking for a way to get your name in print? Well, we have an answer for you here at Awakened Radio Network. We are publishing Thrive Evolutionary Consciousness Magazine the 20th of every month. If you would like to submit an article, poetry, or artwork, please visit our website, awakenedradio.net. Look at the top where it says Thrive Evolutionary Consciousness Magazine. You will find information on how to submit an article, poetry, or artwork. There are also information there for you to advertise and get the word out in our magazine that reaches thousands of people globally at very affordable rates. Awakened Radio Network and Thrive Evolutionary Consciousness Magazine are working together with you for a win-win for everyone. Success is a lifestyle.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. And we're back. And if you have a question for Roger, you can call in at 334-649-7204, or of course type it in to our chat room or connect to us on Skype by adding Awakened Radio. Now, Roger, we were talking about a little bit about intuition, a little bit about your activity with the POMC, but let's get more deeper into your intuition and recording it and some steps that might help people to begin to tap into this for themselves. How can they start to record their own intuition, their own psychicness?
Okay, going in that regard, I was always one that I was a little bit different. My friends would know that, and I was never one not to express my feelings. I minored in psychology and in philosophy at Youngstown State University and majored in communications. And believe it or not, I was taking accounting when my dad died, and I was just going nowhere. And basically I said, am I going to start to listen to myself? And I think that's what most people need to do. And let's go in this way of doing something. I will challenge your listeners, and I'll even challenge you, Rob, to think of anything and everything that you believe in how you do. But you need to do this when you have a moment, a half hour, an hour that you can start to be by yourself where there's no interruptions of TV, phones, family, friends, or whatnot. You have to say, why do I believe this, and how did I come to believe this? Whether it's your religion, whether it's your job, whatever you're doing, look and see, why do you believe this, and where did it come? And you have to see if you're believing this, or are you just believing this because you were brought up this way? Are you believing this because your dad made you do this? Are you believing this because your wife has guilted you into this, or because you have shamed yourself into a position? And this doesn't just happen like that as a snap of a finger. You slowly are walking into this valley. So you need to ask yourself, am I leading a life of lies? And you have to be truthful to yourself. And a lot of times people just have a hard time of just telling the truth. And when you can't tell the truth to yourself, then you're in trouble. So the first thing you need is to really, really have some deep introspection and ask yourself some hard questions. And once you start to answer these hard questions, what's that saying where, insanity is, okay, Rob, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to walk to the kitchen, I'm going to turn on the faucet, and how come gas and it doesn't light on fire come out of that? That's because it's not the stove. But if you keep going to the faucet, turning on the water, and expecting your stove to light up, that's called insanity. Now, I made that up to prove a point. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, or a result that you want. You have to go and you have to do something different. Most people do not eat right, okay? So I'm going to do a big loop here. I'm going to hit a whole bunch of things here. Because we don't eat right, we're eating processed food. Like I said, if it don't spoil, you're not eating food. It has to spoil, or that's not good for you. The fact that
it's toxic.
It's toxic. Right. And I'll really get going on with aspartame and fluoride and the rat poison that's in our water and that's in our toothpaste, and how that clogs up the pineal gland, and that is your spiritual catalyst to your connection. But what most of us don't do is we don't meditate or go into a trance state, or basically just find quiet time and listen. And you can call it God, you can call it intuition, you can call it your guidance, your angels. I don't care how you semantically want to call this, but you need to get off the sugar, get off the processed food, and the only reason why I'm preaching from this soapbox is because I was guilty. I had a thyroid problem. Well, I had a thyroid problem because you heard my story of my brother getting murdered, so I was on zinc for the longest time. Then if I drink pop or I eat candy or I eat the processed food, I'm going to stay on zinc. I'm never going to have a quiet mind. I'm never going to meditate. I'm never going to calm myself down. Well, what I did is I was always an exercise guy. I was a runner. My nickname was Marathon Man. I went back to exercise. Exercise, everything's energy. So instead of having a negative energy I'm going to turn that negative energy, I'm going to make it a positive. So I'm going to take the negative energy of my brother's death, and I'm going to change that and channel that to make it healthy energy of me exercising so I become healthy. Then I start to put good food in myself. So then I slow myself down. So then if I either meditate or just find a stillness and listen. All you have to do is listen. I got my friend, we had these stuffed animals, and I gave it to him for a Christmas present about 20 years ago, and it was, believe it or not, M&M's, an M&M man. Well, he found out that he can go to a quiet time and talk to his M&M man, which all he's doing is talking to his higher self or God or the universe or however you want to do. But when you connect and you can listen, they're going to guide you. It's your doorkeepers. It's the people that your guardian angels or however you want. They're going to give you what you need. But most of the time, I'm going to say almost all of the time, we are caught up in this negative microwave energy fields of these cell phones and these laptops and these Wii's and Woes and these portable things, and we don't have any downtime. And you need to have quiet time. You need to listen. What do you call it? Make it a religion or what? You need to just sit there and listen for guidance. And once you start just to do one thing, and that's where I want to get. If you want to change your life, and we were talking about this yesterday, and the word we couldn't come up with was intervention. Intervention is something where you see quite on these shows. They make shows of it. An alcoholic or a drug addict, and we intervene in their lives because we know being an alcoholic or a drug addict is a bad thing, because we see all the roots of every alcoholic or drug addict is going to end bad. They all tear themselves down. But what I know, because I had uncles who were that, I had former lovers who were that. When you go to AAA or you go to Al-Anon, they tell you if they don't want to change, you're not going to make them change, no matter what intervention you come. So now let's flip that and put it upon ourselves. What we do, we try to change our lives every year. At least some of us do, and they do, and we do it in the form of what? It's a New Year's Eve. It's a resolution. I'm going to do blah 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 blah. Mostly it's exercise. We all want to. People have a hard time with exercise. That's one of the resolutions. So I'm going to lose so much.
We do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we do it
That's
for 2 weeks. Absolutely right. But what we need to do, we're looking way down the line at the goal. At the goal. In my rhetorical criticism teacher speech at the college, and he was a brilliant man, David Robinson, he goes, Roger, why do you always do everything the hard way? I go, what? He goes, yeah, you pick things, you do things always the hard way. I go, no, I don't. And then he went on and he rattled off a couple things. I said, okay, teach, I got you. He goes, Roger, just quiet down. Don't try so hard. And he goes, sometimes, Raj, the next step, you take the first step, and then you take the second step. And then if you want to get to the other side of the park, you got to take step 43, and step 63 is going across the bridge, and step 76 is on that dam that's shaky with the moss growing, and step 83, 84 is climbing over the fence. You don't worry about those things when you get there, because something might change by the time you get there. He goes, pay attention to the step that you're on right now. And he goes, a lot of times the next step is going to be your goal. And the big lesson that I learned out of that, if you want to change your past, you have to change the future. And the only way to do that is with the present. And you say, what's the present? Well, the present is a gift, a present. And what are you going to do with that gift? And when I was told that, I thought, that's really a good plan. When you want to change the past, so if I want to change what happened 2 hours ago, I got to change what's going to come up in the future. But the only way to do that is to change right now. What am I doing? So what can I do? And I was told by people I can't even remember who told me, but they kind of said, just change one thing. One thing. And then I did my research and found out that if you really want to have a habit, to change a new habit, you need to do it 21 times. 21 days in a row, and you will start a new habit. So if you want to break smoking, basically try to get off of it for 21 days in a row, and you have a good chance of breaking it. So if you want to try to do something good, do something for 21 days. But don't pick it to be monumental, like exercise. We picked the exercise thing, right, Rob? We want to go to the gym. We're going to do this. We're going to go inside. Oh, my God, there's Mr. America there. There's Mrs. America right there. She's doing it. You know, they've been exercising for 5 years, 10 years.
Their whole life?
A lifetime. And we're comparing us. We're comparing us to them. That's what we do wrong. I'm not them. They're not me. I'm only trying to better myself. But we project what we see in ourselves, and if we have a low negative opinion, we look at them and we try to compete against them, and all you're doing is competing against yourself. And so we start to exercise, and next thing you know is after 2 weeks, like you said, we're done because we're being intimidated, or you're allowing yourself to be intimidated by someone who's not even trying to intimidate you. He's just trying to do whatever he's doing, or she's trying to do whatever or she's doing. You got to just do one thing. So I just picked, Just do one little thing. And if it's just walking up and down the steps, you do that 21 days in a row. And then all of a sudden, in that 21 days, you're just trying to exercise, and you're picking just walking up and down the steps, because that's all you can do. You're so out of shape, you're so overweight. The next thing you know, on your way to that, another coincidence, another light, your guides, your teacher, or if you quieted your mind down slow enough to listen to your intuition, because most of us are not listening to all the examples that are going to be given to us. You know, it's like that joke. You know, hey God, I'm on this island. You know, and the joke goes, well, this battleship came up, and you weren't going to go on the battleship, and there was this rickety old raft came up, and then this flying, you know, and you didn't choose any of the ways that you could have got off because you're picking your way. You just have to listen to what the universe, to what God, to what your coincidences are giving you, but you got to slow yourself down enough to do it. And then don't compare you to them. Compare you to you, because it's apples to apples, oranges to oranges. I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose to Michael Jordan. I'm going to lose to Jim Brown.
Really have to look at the toxic stuff, whatever's causing you to be caught up in all this static.
Well, like I said, and then that's another thing. If one of the things that I think I told you as an example, I used my friend. He came for me to help last year. He was in a relationship, and I just said, just change one thing. And one of my things that I'm really a fan of right now is lemons. I just think lemons are just it's just one of the greatest things going right now. And not just making lemonade out of it, but why there's so many just good things for lemons that are for you. So I said, you know what, just take a lemon, you know. And basically, when I say take a lemon, we're trying to detoxify your liver, and how lemons are just so healthy. And like I said on one of my web pages, 45 uses for lemons that will blow your socks off. So it refreshes the fridge. It's good for high blood pressure. It prevents fruits from turning things. It's good for your mental health. It refreshes cutting board. It helps with respiratory problems. It treats arthritis and rheumatism. It prevents kidney stones. It keeps insects out of kitchens. It's anti-aging. It reduces the free radicals that are responsible for your skin aging and damage. It's a fruit and vegetable wash. It's treated for infections. It purges the blood. And like I said, it's on and on and on and on it goes with just doing the lemon. So I said, just pick one thing, and I started with the lemon. So he didn't do it. Guess who did it? I said, I'm going to use my own medicine. I got me and my mom. My mom's 91. She still works down at the cafeteria at St. Rose School. She's still the assistant cook. But I got us on lemons. And one of the things that lemons really does do is it detoxifies your liver, and it alkalines your body. And most of all of your diseases are found in an acidosis basis. It's on acids. Cancer's in acids. Rheumatism, heart, plaque, everything's acid. Well, by believe it or not, even though lemon sounds like it's acidy, it actually alkalines your body. And we started that. Then the next thing we did, my little step, I found out about probiotics. And I thought probiotics were just for people that needed to take them when they're on antibiotics. Then I found out, no, that you actually have another brain barrier in your gut. And what that does to you, that's basically where your health comes from, is your intestine, because we're finding about leaky gut syndrome and all this. So I got us on probiotics. Then it led me to another thing. I'm researching probiotics, and I'm finding about cilantro. And I'm finding about how cilantro is another detoxifying agent, clears the blood-brain barrier. And I start to eat cilantro, and I said, man, it tastes like soap. And then I do my little research. I said, the more soapy it tastes, the more that I know that I have hard metals and metals. So then I'm starting to detoxify. So I made one decision with the lemon. I'm into probiotics. Next thing you know is I'm taking cilantro, and I can buy that at any Walmart, Marks, or any grocery store for like 99 cents. And I basically pull one out, eat it, and now it tastes pretty good. Every once in a while I get that soapy feeling when I've eaten like trick-or-treat candy, which I bought for my mom to pass out, and I was guilty where I should get my hand smacked for eating it. But And then another thing. So that leads to another thing. So I go from one thing to another thing to another thing, and I just started with one thing and one easy thing. And then you just do it for 21 days. And so the next thing you know is you got that into a habit. And then you just changed your life. Because then now I do not find a day where I got to have my lemon. I need my probiotics. And then I changed another thing. I found out how bad salt is for you. But then I found out how amazing Himalayan salt is. And then when you find where, I think it's in Germany, where some of the Himalayan mines of this salt, that you get 89 more enzymes than the processed cooked salt, even sea salt, which is 98% good. But even that's not. I won't even do sea salt. I will do Himalayan salt because of its benefits. You can put that on over and over and the healthy benefits. So I will now always put Himalayan salt, whether I'm making a pancake or I'm sprinkling it on a salad. So then I changed how I eat a salad. And then, like I said, so I started with one decision. I kept it going for 21 days. And the next thing you know is, if you don't look at your goal, all of a sudden, I've walked this because when I lost my one job at the horse training, which I hope to be back shortly when this racetrack opens up near me in the next few months, I got my house in order. So now I painted my house. I took my fence down. I went through everything in the house. I got rid of, I sold the things that I could have sold and garbage the other things that are garbage, but I got to spend quality time with my mom now, who's 91. So even though I lost the job, I made it something great. I shared my mom every day. And I helped her health, I helped my health. So it's like, it's how you look at the situation at hand. And believe it or not, I've gone kicking and screaming too, where you get frustrated with something that's cropping up. And the only thing I can say to people, that if something comes up that's frustrating you, what do you have to learn? There's something that's being taught to you by the universe, or you didn't learn a lesson. But let me digress. If you just start and pick one thing, all of a sudden that one thing turns into two things, turns into three things. And if you continue for 21 days, then all of a sudden you got to have it. Then the next thing you know, you want to change your past, you got to change your future, you got to change it, and it starts at the present. The next thing you know, you should have a track record. Now I have a year and a half of drinking lemons, and I'm feeling a lot healthier. And then I'm doing much better. My mom does not take any aspirins or any Tylenol or anything for pain, because I got her on a thing called serapeptates. I learned that by doing research, and I found that on Dr. John Gray's website, how serapeptides is an enzyme and that reduces plaque. And like I said, you keep following your coincidences, and that's, I call myself a synchristi. And I think if you see it on my page, you're going to go, Roger, what the heck are you talking about? What is a synchristi? Well, that's synchronicity. I'm following, whether you want to call it from God, whether you call it from your higher self, whether you call it from your angels. I'm a person that's following what's coming from one's heart. And it's the temple that knows all truth. It is light and love vibrating at a harmonious synchronicity. And you follow your synchronicity. It's like that's the vibrational thing that you saw on I'm calling it Goldilocks, on the Yellow Brick Road, right? On the Scarecrow, Mr. 10. You follow, and that's your Yellow Brick Road, your synchronicity. And your synchronicity is different than your mom's, different than your dad's, different than your brother's, different than your lover's, different than your wife, your husband. Follow your synchronicity. And once you follow your synchronicity, it might get you to a place where now you really do find your mate, because you really are working your work at the highest and best interest for everybody. And that person comes into your life for the highest and best interest. So you follow your synchronicity. And that's why I said that's why I'm a synchronist. I really started to fall. And like you said, I've charted this for 40 years. But I charted it because this happened to me. It doesn't happen to everybody. And I ran from this, where I would write down my vibes. I didn't want this to be happening to me. I did not like it happening to me. And I tried to stop it from happening to me. But now I've taken this time where, like, since I lost my job, I'm waiting for the new one, I'm more embracing it. I'm running to it. I'm going to try to write a couple books on it. And I'm going to try to help people follow their synchronicity, because I don't see this in any of the books that I'm reading about being psychic, because we all can be psychic. But it's not, I don't want to use that word psychic, because we all
if you
have...
read Jung, it's in there, the
Pardon?
synchronicity. So that's a good path to take, is to start to read Carl Jung.
Oh yeah, Carl. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I studied him back in philosophy. That's where you come across it, but it's in so many other places too. But you have to pay attention to yourself, and that's where I go back. You don't usually pay attention, and it's
we're about out of time this week. So, would you like to read your poem to close out the show?
Sure, if that's what you want, sure.
Well, you can read it for us, and we can say thank you for joining us tonight. It was great having you, and thanks for joining us.
Okay, this is my poetic quatrain, and that is just like the quatrains that's from Nostradamus, except this is mine, and this is one in my what I call a meditative state, and it's called The Answer. And so here we go. You're looking in the darkness, trying to find the light. Is it around the corner, or stalking you in the night? You trip and stumble here, you falter over there. Where's a friend to help you in time of great despair? You're crying for assistance. Your tears continue to flow. The pain is too intense. You don't know where to go. What has happened to the answers? Oops, I just lost it for a second. Hang on.
You don't know where to go.
No, I hit the button on the page. What has happened to the answers? Are they lost within your love? Did you understand the questions? So you asked the man above. It happens once again, is not what you expect. Your faith in God is strong, but this difficult to accept. It's these lessons that are learned, the ones that can never be taught. God has given you the freedom to find that which is being sought. They say that if you listen, it will come across in song. Some say it's in a storyline. Your wait's been much too long. Many still search for it in prayer, while others seek it in a poem. Too ironic to be believed, but it's really right at home. You say you cannot hear, but some are too blind to see. The pond is but a mirror, and not of what will be. Like the storm which is a fury, a violence with no cage, it has come to know what peace is at the center of its rage. A man is but no different, a frenzy searching for a way. Self-conquest is the triumph that permits tranquility to say. So simple is the answer, it's not in any book. So simple is the answer when we know just where to look.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks for joining us tonight.
You're welcome, Bob.
It was great having you. And let me just close out the show, and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
We only have a few minutes left, so stay tuned next week for another episode of Simply Conversations. Next week, it'll be with animal communicator and mystic and also, wait a minute, I was just told to talk about my book, so I will talk about my book. It's Your Life Counts, and it's on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and search through the Kindle section, Your Life Counts, and it's all about numerology, the life path number specifically, and how to follow your heart, which was what Roger was talking about today, to follow your heart, follow its guidance, and really begin to develop that for yourself throughout your life, to be able to follow its wisdom. And you'll want to tune in next Thursday, this coming up at 10 p.m. We'll have a special presentation from Deborah Cohen from Connecticut Activate CT, talking about GMOs and the World Food March, and she'll be on this Thursday at 10 p.m. and we'll be talking about how you might get involved locally for yourself. And please do tune in to listen to that show. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hope to talk to you again on Thursday. Thanks for joining us. this week.
Sleeping through the fight in life, we're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're awakened. You won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are